How's it going, people? Welcome back to AFTV and welcome back to News Daily. I'm back again here, first time this week on News Daily, and last time this week I'm on News Daily, but Dan, back in the building. Is this your first time on the news?
Yeah, it is, man. Good to see you, Turkish.
Come on, G.
How are you, man? You good?
Yeah, man, all good, man. I think we're in for a very positive hour, very, very positive hour to come. Some positive news in there.
Yeah.
And I think me and you can separate, the very few positives there are with the vast negatives there are. And I think we'll start today on one of the positives, I believe, and that's Odegaard. I like Odegaard. I think we got him for a good fee. I won't say it's good business waiting until this time to get him for that fee. I think if he's your main target, and I think if you want him that much, you pay 5 million, 8 million more, and you get him when you need to get him, have him ready with the team. Albeit this is Arsenal, we know how Arsenal are run. He's over the line, £35 million it seems. I'm happy with the deal. It's good, but it's not enough. How do you feel overall?
I'm with you, man. The reason I'm not as excited about this one as I suppose some others would be is it's the same as last season. Do you know what I mean? So we were 8th last season with Odegaard. Some would argue that from Christmas we weren't 8th. We were like top 4 in the league.
That good old Christmas table.
Yeah, the Christmas table. Apparently the league table starts at Christmas now. I've heard it all now.
Yeah, we'll see the half-season Premier League now.
Yeah, you know it, bro. So I like some parts of Odegaard's game. My only concern about it is I think that we could have probably upgraded that position even more with a James Maddison. I think Husam Aouar would probably be on the same level in terms of risk because he's young, it's a different league, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he's a player that I think has a higher ceiling than Odegaard. So I would have liked to have seen that.
Oh, is it? You think Aouar's
I think so.
Yeah?
I've got a massive
Don't you see Aouar as
admiration.
more of a central midfield player than an Odegaard being a more attacking point?
I see Odegaard more as a 10 and I see Aouar more as an attacking 8.
So we could do with both, essentially.
That's my thinking. Yeah. Listen, that may happen. We don't know that yet. But as far as I'm concerned with the Martin Odegaard situation, I think that it's good to get a permanent deal from what we hear. I didn't want another loan.
Nah.
How
many have we had over the last few years?
You know it, man. So I sit there and think that this is an improvement, and it will also not put so much pressure on Smith Rowe, because Smith Rowe, as much as I like him and I think he'll have a good season, I don't want him playing like 40 games. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's a signing we can all say is fairly positive, but it ain't enough. Like you said at the end there, we need more. So.
And that's a very good point, because we've seen with good old Jack Wilshere at one point, he was going to be the next best thing. I saw him as a future Arsenal captain, and the games he had to play over the course of a couple of seasons kind of caught up with him.
100%. I think Saka as well can be put in that bracket.
Yeah.
I don't want to burn out these kids, because as much as they are the positives at the moment, we don't want them. I want them playing a few 100 minutes less than they did last season each.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we have to do business in the transfer market.
Because it isn't fair for us to put the responsibility on these young players. They are the one positive I see at this club, the young
100%.
players. But it's not fair to pile on the pressure on that one positive. We need the other cogs to be well oiled and be a process. That good old word we use.
That's the word we use. I will say this though, where do we see Odegaard, Saka and Smith Rowe fitting in terms of the first team? Do we see one going out wide? Because that worries me in terms of Pepe, because I'm a big Pepe fan.
Yeah, listen, we might as well go into that, because I've said it before on my channel in the stream earlier. I said, listen, we've got Pepe, Martinelli, let's not forget, Emile Smith Rowe, Saka and now Odegaard. 5 players in 3 positions. Who misses out?
This is the one for me, man, because the way I see it is Pepe has to play, because the way he ended the season was on such a high in terms of numbers.
Yeah.
He was the one scoring the goals. So I think it's harsh to leave him out. I don't think you can leave Saka out. So for me, it's Smith Rowe, Odegaard in that number 10.
And then with the new contract and the number 10 shirt,
which is heavy for him, but where does Arteta see that? Listen, we need strength in depth, but in terms of our first 11, who starts?
So going into Chelsea then, all 5, let's say Odegaard, it seems like the medical's complete. He'll be over the line in the next 24 hours and he'll be ready for Chelsea. All 5 going into Chelsea, who's your 3 behind the striker?
So what I would do, personally, with this Aubameyang and Lacazette situation not looking good, I'd go with Pepe up top, and then I would have Odegaard, Smith Rowe and Saka. I think that's what I'd probably do. Maybe it's harsh on Martinelli, but I think that as much as I really wanted to see him play last time, I'm not so sure that I would drop Pepe for him. So, the other option, Martinelli up top. That's the other option, which I quite like the look of. But I think I'd probably go with that, Turkish, to be fair. What about you?
I want to talk about the Pepe up front thing. What like, a lot of people have said that, and even I've said, why not give it a go? But what is it about that intrigues you? And does he need an Emile Smith-Rowe there who obviously comes past the striker? Like Odegaard doesn't do that. Odegaard always is behind the striker, whereas Emile Smith-Rowe is a 10 that passes the striker, breaks the lines, creates space. So would Pepe need an Emile Smith-Rowe behind him? Or would you just go with him because you think he's got the talent to do it?
The reason I like Pepe potentially through the middle, and I did say last season I wanted to see him more behind Aubameyang up top. The reason I'd like to see him through the centre more is I've seen 2 games when he did play there, and they caused such a disaster for these defenders. Yeah. And that was under Emery at Anfield, where we lost the game, unfortunately, when David Luiz gave away penalties. That one up top with him and Aubameyang with a 3 at the back, and I think he's the only player that season to dribble past Van Dijk.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Obviously, the other game that he played was the FA Cup final against Chelsea that we won, and he was brilliant in the middle. Yeah. So I think he can do it there. I don't like him on the right because I feel that he's so predictable coming in on the left-hand side. On his left foot.
Yeah.
I think he hugs the line too much. Easier to, and he isolates himself. On the left, I like him because I feel like he's very, very one-footed out there, and I think he caused some problems. So I'd like to see him in a couple more positions personally. And I think at the moment we've got the players to kind of jig it around a bit. So as much as I want him to go with a best 11, I think that if he was to experiment with some of those players switching around, Pepe would be the one that I'd use to kind of in a few positions there,
I want to touch on that again, and we'll just get this super chat in from it's Arnab. He says Odegaard 14 matches, 1 goal, 2 assists. Maddison 31 matches, 8 goals, 5 assists. Are we overhyping Odegaard? He's good, but is he elite? To be honest, I wouldn't class either of them as elite. No. And I think looking at statistics off the back of Odegaard coming into the Arsenal side he came into in January, and Maddison already having that consistency with the players and league and team around him. Listen, I know right now Maddison is the better player. Mm-hmm. But in all honesty, I do see a high ceiling for Odegaard too. Do I see that as overhyping? I don't. Because high ceilings don't always materialise to good players.
100%, mate.
We've seen over and over again, even at our club, for example, players overhyped that don't ever reach what we thought they would reach.
Yeah, man.
Are we overhyping him as fans, or?
I wouldn't say we're listen, I don't think there is many people overhyping him. I don't know many Arsenal fans that are losing their heads over this signing. I don't know many Arsenal fans that are saying, wow, that's what we need now to progress to go to top 4. I think people are saying it's an okay signing because they're kind of aware of what he is. I think personally he's got a vision for a pass, and that's what we need. Creativity is something we are lacking, and we lacked again on last Friday night. I didn't see, although I thought Smith-Rowe had a quite good game, one of the only players who did, I think that we still need somebody to have that killer pass or that killer ball. And also what we need, Turkish, is someone to finish it off.
Yeah. We need a lot.
Yeah.
We need a lot, Dan. Seriously.
The final third, bro.
If we start going into what we need, you're starting to remind me of the defensive issues we have too, and the midfield issues we have, and we're only talking about the attacking mid. I guess, having 5 players compete for 3 different positions is good. And that, I guess, is becoming somewhat of a positive. But if you have a manager that can't get the best 3 or can't get the best 3 ticking, then having 5 players for 3 positions doesn't mean much. We've got someone else here saying, I already feel our season has ended after dropping of first match. We aren't even in November. Arteta out. It depends what you expect from the season to say you feel like the season's ended. In my opinion, going into the season, I didn't expect anything. So how does expecting nothing end? I guess it doesn't. I guess you just hope to see you being wrong. Did you have what is your expectations for this season, and what is the reality for you for this season?
Well, after the Villarreal game, when we decided to stick with this manager, I thought that if we were going to stick with this manager for this season, we're going to be looking at the top 8 again. The thing is, Turkish, these people ahead of us have all actually spent some money and improved their side. So we're looking at, like, at the start of the season, we've got to try and compete with the top 4 and get back up there. That's no chance when Man City have gone and bought what they bought. Chelsea are going to buy still. Man United has strengthened. You've got the Spurs situation with Harry Kane. If he does eventually go, which I think he will, they're going to spend last minute and get some players in as well. So we have to try and compete with that. We've not done that. I think personally, when you look at our transfer business, maybe Ben White has kind of replaced Luiz and might be a bit better, nowhere near as experienced. But otherwise, we haven't strengthened our first 11, bruv. So I'm sitting there thinking, we're 8th place side 2 years running, and he's done nothing to strengthen his first 11. So what should we expect now? 8th place. because I don't think that we are progressing. People are getting excited about this. The league started at Christmas all of a sudden, and we're now in the top 4 if you look at us from Christmas. But I see a terrible performance on Friday night, which fills me with no faith. I have no faith in the manager. I don't think it matters whether it's Balogun and Martinelli up top or Lacazette and Aubameyang. The tactics are terrible. So I've not liked what I've seen from this manager on the pitch since October last year. You know, when we lost to Burnley at home, I was done, mate. I was just like so out of it, lost my head completely.
And that on that point, on the manager point, because I sorry to cut you off there, but because you're talking about it, and we might as well delve into it a bit.
Yeah, do it.
Going into this season, Arteta's managed to divert a lot of attention his way, and that's how I see it, because I think a lot more attention should be on the owner. But Arteta, through his own wrong decisions, his own statements, you know, tripping up over his own lies last season, he's kind of made himself a target now. Now, let's say we've got 100% of blame to dish out, share out between, you know, who to blame. How much percentage of that blame to what we're seeing now do you put on Arteta, on the ones in between, and Kroenke? So let's say we've got 100% to give out, and we've got 3 parties there that we can attribute blame to: the manager, the middle, and the Kroenkes.
So it's hard for me. It's hard for me to put numbers, but I'll say this, right? We have an owner who's neglected and abandoned the club, in my opinion, yeah? People say they've spent money. They haven't spent money. They've allowed money to be spent, yeah? Granted. That hasn't come out of their money, has it? Their pocket, has it, yeah? So we've got an owner who needs to take the majority of the blame for where we are in this position, in my opinion. We've had terrible board members who, in my opinion, are a bunch of clowns who don't know what they're doing. Yeah, I've been asking for 5 years what Vinay Van Kartasham does. He's been sorting out a European Super League, mate. Edu's come in. He's now on a jet ski and have a cigar in his mouth for barbecue, and on the transfer window's open. And people say, he deserves a holiday. Man, he's had since February to go on holiday with his family.
Don't get me wrong. You know what? Of course, the holiday for a role like that should be in the season somewhere.
100%, mate.
His job is actually the transfer window.
Mate, the only time this guy needs to be concentrating, he's on a jet ski. And people say, he's in Spain to buy Odegaard. Yeah, he's buying Odegaard. What, to Real Madrid train on the sea? Like, that's where he is, mate, on a jet ski. And now he's at a barbecue with his family with a cigar in his mouth while we're in an absolute shambles. So I put blame on him, who again is another novice. This Richard Garlick has come in. What's he done? I've seen nothing. That he just goes along with the Raúls and the Sven Mislintat and the Husfamis. Who are we employing with these people? So that's why I blame Kroenke more than anybody else. Yeah. And I blame Kroenke for putting this novice in charge as a manager who does not know what he's doing. And it's clear to see on Friday, he's sitting there, all he does is clap. That's all I ever see him do is clap, try to get the confidence up for the players. Because I think he knows that it ain't going well for him now. I honestly believe Turkish, he won't last past the North London derby. I think he's run out a lot of moves, mate. Last season, I would have gone to the end of the season and said, listen, you've given it your best shot. I have no doubt of that. Yeah. But it ain't good enough, man. You need to go. We need someone. We had Thomas Tuchel sunning it up last time. We missed out on him. We've got Antonio Conte sitting there sunning it up. And we won't go for him because the Kroenkes will not allow that to happen, mate. They don't want to give someone 12 million a year and 300 million pounds to spend.
And that's the issue we have. And that's why I asked where we, share this blame out, because there's no doubt about it. For me, in my opinion, Arteta at some point this season will be sacked. I think at some point this year he will be sacked. That goes without saying. Even if we was to protest every single game from now until something happens, the next thing to happen will be the manager sacked, maybe a reshuffle with Edu and whatnot, because the owner, he's not going for now.
Nah.
But do you trust the owner to get a Conte? I mean, like you just said, there was a Tuchel available. When we got Arteta, there was an Ancelotti available. When we knew, Wenger was kind of fading, there was a Klopp available and a Pep available. This dates back 5, 6, 7 years, not just the last 2.
It's so spot on, bro, because you weren't using the word trust Turkish with this owner. I can't do it. Yeah, because what's he been here? 15 years, 12, 15 years? And he's been here for a few years now where he's had total ownership. I have no trust in this dude whatsoever because I've already seen the same mistakes happening again. Yeah. I've seen him allowing poor recruitment. Yeah, and people say that's not Kroenke for getting it wrong in the recruitment market. Is it not? Does he not employ the people who recruit for our team? Does he not then say, you're not good enough, get the hell out? Because Roman wouldn't stand for this. Right, everyone slags off Roman Abramovich. I would take him tomorrow, bro. Have you seen 15 managers? Yeah, about 15 trophies. Yeah, I don't care. I want 15 trophies. I'm passionate about ambition and trying to be the best club in the world. We're miles off that, mate. Yeah. And Kroenke doesn't care. He spent £5 billion on the Rams' new stadium, and meanwhile we're trying to, negotiate deals over 30 million for Odegaard and trying to get 5 million off here and 5 million off there. is it the keeper Ramsdale? If he's going to be too much at 20,
it's a lack of that.
Come on, man.
I mentioned earlier again. You know, the attacking midfielders, the profile we've been going for. We've been linked to Buendia, Maddison, and Odegaard. 3 very different attacking mids.
Yeah,
Then you look
know.
at the midfield: Locatelli, Neves, Basuma. 3 very different centre mids. It's like, okay, we need a player in that position, but Arteta, Edu, what do you guys want?
Where's the plan?
Every single player that you're going for in that position or rumoured to be going for is different.
Yeah.
They bring different qualities. So that's what also adds to my belief that, okay, Kroenke is, we know he is the be-all and end-all problem.
Massive, yeah.
But these lot are doing so much things with the variables they can, you know, have an impact on without Kroenke, wrong, that the attention's again going towards them, like it did with Emery towards the end of his.
Yeah.
And really Wenger towards the end of his.
Bro, this is the thing, and people are saying you can't just keep sacking managers. Kroenke's the issue. I get that, but do you just keep one manager then and just keep going down and down and down because he's a yes man and Kroenke's happy? We need to have a voice, and I've said this so long, and I know you're on my side here in terms of the fans uniting, and I think it's hard. Like we see it against Everton, the protest, wicked, loved it, yeah. And then the next time we're clapping the coaching, and then the one after that it rained, so no one turned up. Like, we need to keep going. We need to be united and have one voice. And I think with Arsenal fans, that's extremely difficult because there's always something to throw back at them. There's always, we'll stop buying shirts. Okay, well, I want to buy a shirt because
why are you going to a game?
Why are you going to a game? What are you going to the game for? Well, because I want to go to the game.
We look at each other way too much.
All the time. There's always something to throw back.
Yeah.
Stop buying the merchandise. Yeah, but I want to. Stop going to a season ticket. Yeah, but I'm a season ticket holder and I want to go. Leave the game early. Oh, I can't because then I miss the game that I've paid for. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they're always slating off somebody else. Now I sit in Red Action area of the Emirates. They slate Red Action off for trying to do something. Ashburton Army. Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not enough. There's not enough atmosphere in the ground.
Yeah.
Ashburton Army slagging him off.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, it's quite quiet here.
Yeah.
Well, hang on a minute. You've just slated off the guy who's trying to cause a match.
He's trying to change it.
AFTV. Oh, well, no, hey, if there's a problem, AFTV is a problem. Man, everything you try to do, they slate it. We care, do you? Oh, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Man, we need to unite. And everyone hates Kroenke. What are we actually doing about getting this guy out?
Even down to Sunday.
It's crazy.
There's a protest planned this Sunday prior to the Chelsea game. First and foremost, do you believe it's the right? It's funny for me to ask this because I've done a protest before. I've spoke up a lot about this, and a lot of the questions I get, it's not the right time. Wait a bit. And here I'm going to ask you, knowing that I do firmly believe it is the right time. Do you believe it's the right time for the first home game back from COVID against Chelsea? The right time to protest?
I think we missed an opportunity, in my opinion, against Brighton on the last season. That was
Definitely.
the time. For me, the reason I think it's the right time because I think it's the right time and keep going and going and going until they're gone. So it's never a bad time.
Yeah, it's never the wrong time.
My problem, Turkish, was the Brighton game annoyed me, not just because it rained and everyone didn't go, but everyone was so excited about going back to the Emirates. Josh was there.
Yeah.
Josh was at the game and everyone's taking selfies. Oh, I'm here, I'm back. Josh is there. Make it known that you're not happy. There's only a few of you in there anyway, because obviously the COVID was back there.
Split up.
Nothing happened. I didn't see anything happen. They all just enjoyed the game and then went home. And Josh is going, well, I'm back and I've showed my face and no one's unhappy with me, so they must be all right.
And then we had the transfer window we had, which might go a long way in explaining it. But I agree with you. Every time's the right time for me. And a protest in the manner that's being planned this Sunday is not the only form. You mentioned shirts and merchandise, TV and maybe switching off the game at a particular minute. This all takes alignment. This all takes unity. And it's something we've also agreed upon that can't really happen right now when everyone's blaming each other. And if you do something, they'll call you out for something else, or they'll ask you, what about this? And it's a roundabout of... I've called Arsenal a roundabout, but the fan base is within their own roundabout
mate,
here
100% of fan base have to take some of the blame here, mate, because I think there's a section of the fan base. I'm not even going to go the whole of them because there's a massive section that are massively against it, massively
as we saw against Everton.
Precisely that. But there are a section, Turkish, that are massively accepting mediocrity. That the only football club that I know in the world maybe can allow a captain to rip an armband off, throw it on the floor, and in the season after, allow him to go pick it up and put it back on his arm. That doesn't happen, mate. Or it shouldn't happen. And fans are accepting that. And then the one priority position that everyone said was the partner for Thomas Partey, now it's Xhaka. It's like, Oh, okay, we'll make do with that, and we'll move on to another area. Why are we now accepting mediocrity? I do not want this guy in our midfield. Is he the worst player on the pitch? No. But is he one of the problems? Yes. So we need to upgrade on him and allow him to be part of the squad if he really wants to be. But we've got a statue next to Thomas Partey, and we're wondering why our midfield is not creating anything. This is so accepting mediocrity as far as I'm concerned. And I wanted the guy gone. I was really, really happy that he was looking to go to Roma. And not one club offered more than £18 million for this guy? But he's now in our centre midfield. Is he that great? Because if no one else thought he was that great, 20 million is a steal for an international, isn't it?
It should be.
No one else thinks so. So now we're stuck with him, and he's not going to be a squad player, mate. He's a starter every single week.
Yeah.
We've seen it.
Yeah, pay rise, everything. We've got a few super chats here, Dan, that I'll get
let's
out.
do it.
One from Ghana86 saying, we literally have the same squad as last season other than White. All we will do next is bring in a crap keeper and our window's done. It's shocking. On that, suggestion of a crap keeper, we have been linked with a keeper. I won't use the word crap, but I will say that it is a bit confusing considering one of the obvious problems with Bernd Leno is him playing out of the back with his feet. Does Ramsdale solve that issue, or is Leno that much of a problem that it seems that we're panicking now to get someone in that's going to be first choice? Because at 20 mil plus, what is actually going on? Are we really, number one, are we really going from Ramsdale, and number two, are we really spending that much money on a backup keeper?
Yeah, let's talk about the goalkeeping situation, man, because this is a strange one for me the last couple of seasons. Nobody thought Martinez was going to come in and be as good as he was, right? And I'm not crying and sitting there and still slating the fact that we've got rid of him, because we need to move on from that. But all I say is this: when you have two goalkeepers that are fighting for the goalkeeping gloves, that's a good situation, right? You pick the two that you want and say, which one of them is going to be my number one? Leno's now out injured, yeah? Martinez has got the gloves.
Yep.
You stay at one. Leno, you've got to get this guy out of goal. Now, that's the way I believe it should be, and that's the way I think it always was over the years. I think we had that with Petr Cech and Leno for a season, to be honest with you. Now I see that he's gone. We've just abandoned the backup goalkeeper for ages now. Runnison, terrible decision to sign him, yeah? Matt Ryan did a good job. For whatever reason, we didn't want to keep him. I believe he probably wanted to go and get first-team football, so we have to respect that. But this Ramsdale situation, I understand it off the pitch. I think that we're looking at a young crop of players to come and grow up together. But Dean Henderson was in goal and Sheffield United stayed up. This guy was in goal and they went down and down and down. And I'm not blaming it on one player, but what my point is for that is there needs to be some stability at the back. I think Dean Henderson provided that. I don't think this guy did, and he's now been relegated with Bournemouth and now Sheffield United. I'd go for Sam Johnston if it was me over him, but I think if you're looking at the way that the rumours are going, it's looking likely to get this guy, and I don't know that he's going to be a number one, Turkish. I think that it's going to be I don't know if he's good enough to be number one.
No, nor do I. Do you think Leno's good enough to be number one?
I think he is for now, but he's not my long-term option, mate, at all. And I think the goalkeeper's an interesting one because it's changed. There's only really, 4 or 5 goalkeepers now in the world that I would want as my definite number one and have confidence with, if I'm honest. And 2 of them in the Premier League in Ederson and Alisson. I think Oblak's the other one for Atletico Madrid. Otherwise, I think we're struggling. I like Donnarumma, but he's just gone to PSG. I don't think there's many world-class goalkeepers out there other than that. So I think for now, Leno is good for what he does. My problem is there's an issue with him at the back distribution-wise, and I think that's why they're looking at Onana, but he's got problems with the doping ban. So whether Ramsdale's going to be enough, I don't think he is, bro. I really don't. I worry about it. I worry.
Nor do I. And a couple more super chats in. One from Vinit saying, Arsenal have a small club mentality. Coming second, United fans went on riots and protests to make sure the owners wake up, yet nothing from Arsenal. When the opportunity was there, Arsenal fans didn't stand up against the owners. I think we did against Everton, but like you mentioned earlier, it did dwindle.
Yeah, it did.
Well, due to probably, more false promises from Josh at the fans forum about more transparency, more contact, and here we are, a whole summer's gone by. There's a lot to really answer for. We've seen Aston Villa's owner come out and answer for the Grealish deal in a very transparent, honest manner that, even I, as an Arsenal fan, rate him for doing, because he's also given us an example of what an owner can do.
Exactly.
With this William Saliba situation, for example, maybe it's not the owner, but Edu and Arteta have come and be honest with us. With the Odegaard and Laka situation now, a bit more honesty might help. And then you might get an argument that it will affect value and it'll affect this. Well, we get little value for these players anyway. It's all loans to buys, and even with Guendouzi, we've only made £1 million of Guendouzi this summer and 10 next. That would be the first player we made a profit on since 2012
Yeah.
in terms
Yeah.
of a
Of someone
player
we
we
bought,
bought.
and player we bought, yeah.
And that profit is 3 mil. Do you see what I'm
But you know,
saying?
the thing is with Guendouzi, man, and the Saliba thing, we've got 2 young players there that people are raving about, right?
Yep.
Not particularly Guendouzi now because of his attitude, but beforehand when he came in, I thought, wow, we've got a player here. Saliba apparently is exceptional, and we've lost money on both of them now because we couldn't sell Saliba for 30 and we can't sell Guendouzi for what we thought was going to be at least 30 to 40 million. Poor.
Remember in the first 6 to 8 months, Guendouzi's value skyrocketed to about 35, 40 mil.
Unreal.
And here we are struggling. Patrick says, boys, do you think we were going for a war? And do you believe the stories in the media between Odegaard and Arteta? Do you think this could be Arteta's downfall?
It's an interesting about Aubameyang and Lacazette. I don't know what's happened there.
It is.
If they're saying they're unwell, fair one, but I can't believe that, if I'm honest with you. I think there's some problems there, and it would not surprise me if both of them went. It really wouldn't.
Sorry, I'm smiling
Go
because
on, man.
someone said, Saeem said Turkish is being out-Turkished.
Is that a
I don't think
compliment
you
or
lot
what?
have been watching Dan.
Is that a compliment?
Dan, plug your channel quickly because
Oh,
if they want
man.
to see someone
I'll
on
tell
the
you what,
levels, yeah,
I'll tell you
they
what.
need to
Listen,
subscribe to Dan too.
I'm with Lead Judges at the moment, so me and Lead Judges are on Lead Judges TV. So
There you go.
if you fancy coming and having a chat, Turkish will be on there a few times as well. So
Come on, and Jamal says, big up Turkish and Dan, you both say it how it is. Love for the love people, a lot of love for Dan here in the comments. Come on, like I mentioned before, Dan will be a regular on AFTV this season. A lot of good views, articulated very well, so it's a pleasure to have him on. And like he said,
Cheers,
I'll be
man.
on Lead Judges and Dan's channel this season too, and likewise on mine. Ali here says, big up guys, speaking the truth. Kroenkes will argue after Odegaard and Ramsdale that they are investing 100+ mil, but squad's not improved. Arteta chosen by the board. Should limelight be on Edu and Vinay? And you're right. You know, in terms of what Ali's saying here, this is my problem with Arteta and Edu now, directing a lot of that anger and frustration towards themselves with the decisions they've been making. I feel like the focus should still very much firmly be on Kroenke because of other things, not just the allowance of spending money. I think allowing inexperienced people to spend money is worse than not spending money, because it puts you in a worse position down the line. There's a
100%.
saying, something like that, is it's better not to spend than to spend unwisely, or something like that. And it's true, because things like Willie and big contracts on people like Ozu and Oba, Kolasinac, another one, silly deals where we've panicked into buying, even down to Lucas Perez, was it Perez?
Yeah, Perez, yeah.
Them times they've held us back for 4, 5, 6 years sometimes. Sometimes we give contract extensions to the people that we have,
Oh, mate, don't.
So, Ali, it is more an Edu and Vinay regarding certain business, but overall we know that they could all be sacked tomorrow.
Yep.
And 3 other people we don't really think are good enough for the job will step in.
I agree with you, man, and it goes back further than that, because do you remember, what was it? Leicester had just won the league, and we signed Mustafi for 35 million.
Yeah.
When Van Dijk was available from Celtic for 12.
Yeah.
There was the situation with Kante, who just won the league with Leicester, then went to Chelsea, and then we went for Granit Xhaka for £34 million, £2 million more. There's been so many like that. I can go on. And
Socrates, we went for when Soyuncu went Leicester for
Soyuncu.
2 mil more, I think.
another great example. So I look at the situation now and I think, okay, long term, some of our plans have got better in terms of our transfers. And if I'm honest with you, although we've got some of them wrong, Willian, Ceballos, Runnison, maybe someone's saying now Pablo Marie, who I disagree with. I think he's an okay centre back for
sure,
cover.
backup, I'd agree.
Backup,
Yeah.
I like Gabriel, I like Partey. I think it's good to get Odegaard, although I don't see it as a elite signing. I think it's a good signing. And I like some of the long-term contracts that are being signed now, which previously we've failed to do. Even the likes of Balogun, Martinelli, Tierney, Saka, Smith Rowe. So we're getting a young crop of players, but some of the mistakes. I see this link with Coutinho. Is that because Willian hasn't worked out? We're now getting another older Brazilian to come in. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't want these same mistakes. The swap thing, they talk about the swap with Aubameyang and Coutinho. That stinks of Mkhitaryan and Alexis for me, man. So we need to stop. We need to learn from these mistakes, and we're not doing it, bruv. It's worrying.
We never do. Eric here saying Smith Rowe's style of play fits a 4-3-3. Arteta needs Smith Rowe to do this and have Partey, Sambi, Smith as the midfield 3 and Pepe, Laka, Odegaard as the front 3 with Oba, Saka, Xhaka as super sub. I don't know how I feel about Saka being labelled a super sub right now. He's probably
starter.
Yeah, starter and star player in terms of what we're going to expect in the coming years ahead?
I think so. And one player he does mention there, who I actually thought was one of the bright sparks on Friday, was Lukonga. You know, for me, I don't want to be seeing El Neni coming back in this side now. And, you know, we mentioned Granit Xhaka already, but this guy looks to play a ball forward.
That's exactly what I said. How many times on the edge of the box did he try and flick it through, like looping? And,
great to see.
And you know what it is? We give credit for these little things, and they are little things, but we've lacked these little things for so long that we're
when they
sitting
happen,
here
it's like,
happy
wow.
about he tried to play it into the box a few times.
You know, man, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Something so simple like that can make us happy because it's been so long since we've seen it. And I actually liked his presence, and he's definitely got some mentality about him. I didn't realise he was the captain of Anderlecht. I had no idea about that.
Yeah, Company. I think
Company and Henri have both said this kid could be good. So I'd rather see him alongside Partey, but we know it's going to be Granit Xhaka, bro. We know it's going to be.
Do you think that partnership is the one moving forward, Partey and Lukonga? Would that be your ideal? Do you see any similarities, or who then would be the one to move forward? Because we've just talked about Lukonga doing well and moving forward.
Yeah, I think that you're right there. Lukonga and Partey have been... Listen, I'd have Basuma and Partey, but it doesn't look like we're going to go for anybody now. So if it was me, I'd go Partey and Lukonga, because I feel that they could be the kind of Gilberto and Vieira of old, where they do the kind of... Listen, I'm not comparing, I don't think they're as good as those two, but they kind of do the two pistons in the engine in midfield, and that's what I want to see, because I think they're both more box to box than one of them holding, both of them holding, sorry. So I think they can complement each other better.
Yeah, so do I. Andrew here says, stay positive. Tierney, Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe, Martin Odegaard, Lukonga, White, Martinelli, all young with long-term deals. Surround them with leadership and we will thrive. I understand that, and that is something to be positive about. We've mentioned it in this show, you know, the young
100%.
players are 100% the shining light at this club, because there is no other light. But it's about the right experience being added for them to thrive, like he just said there. And so far, we haven't been able to get that side right. The Martin Odegaard signing doesn't change that. A Ramsdale potential signing doesn't change that.
Yeah.
We need to see. Alex here saying Leno's not good enough. He makes too many mistakes from the back. Not good with his feet, and we need a good striker. Oba needs some time off. Oba's got a big 6 months ahead of him. I don't know about needing time off, because he signed a 3-year deal last summer, and you know, a third of that deal has gone and he's underperformed, albeit the whole club has underperformed, and you know, a lack of direction both on and off the pitch. But the next 6 months brings him halfway into that contract, and it's a big 6 months for him. Do you think he's going to turn it around, or do you think... Not we've seen the best of Oba, because I believe we've seen the best of Oba, but even if he comes back anywhere near that, that's still a quality player to have. So do you think, you know, a good Oba can return for us?
I think he can, but I fear we won't see it, Turkish. And the reason I say that is because something has gone on off the field here. Now, people say that it's the malaria, they say that it's problems with family, they say that there's problems with his mentality. My worry is his problem with something that I think he's been promised that he hasn't seen. I think when he signed that contract, he was sold the dream, like we all were, that players were going to come in like Kusamawa, like, you know, the James Maddisons of this world that people were excited about, and maybe even better than that, you know. And I think Aubameyang just winning the FA Cup thought, do you know what, this manager, I think he can do something here. We've just won silverware, and I'm happy to come forward.
Yeah.
And then he sees, you know, Willian come through the door. Do you know what I mean? And then he sees Runnison come through the door, and he's thinking, we're still short here, but something will happen. I've been told something's happened. And I think when you give someone the contract that he did, and you're the manager in Arteta, and you play to a system that he doesn't suit or he doesn't fit, he's being asked to play left wing back for most of the games at the moment. So why do you want your best striker, or so-called striker, and highest earner playing at left wing back? So, you know, I think as much as I think some of the games he doesn't suit being up top, because I think there are certain games that you need Lacazette or somebody in that mould.
Drop in.
I think he's been poor, and I think that I do worry about that. I think if you said to me now, look, DCL wants to come to Arsenal when we've got 70 million or whatever it's going to cost, yeah, I'd take it 100%, and I'd let Aubameyang and Lacazette leave. They've had their time. Lacazette's had, 4 or 5 years here. He hasn't got into the France side. Yeah. So I don't think he's an elite striker. I think he works hard, but I don't think he's the one to take us forward, and I fear that Aubameyang isn't even up.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I'm quite frustrated that we still are going into another season with both Oba and Laka, and yet again expecting to find a way to fit them both in. I think over the last 3-4 years there's been evidence enough that they're not both going to fit into the same 11, and in reality we need to start looking forward, even from Oba, because he's only got 2 years left. So even if he sees his contract out, where we are at Arsenal Football Club right now, we're not going to turn it around in the next 2 years. And by turn it around, I mean, get back into the top 4, get back to competing. It's not going to happen in 2 years. So we're going to have to get back to competing with the striker after Oba. So right now is when we should be thinking about the future, but instead we have Lacazette into his last 11, 10 months. Who knows? The next 2 weeks he might get sold. And okay, I'm of the belief that if we was to get 10, 15 mil for Laka now, I'd take it because he's got 11 months left. It might not be his value, and that would be the argument from a lot of fans. That's cool, but would you take something like that for not just Laka, but there's a few players there where we've touted them to other clubs, Bellerin, Lacazette being another one, maybe another one of the right backs since we've got 4, Kolasinac. Would you start taking losses essentially because it's not going to get any greater?
I think we're going to have to, mate. I think we're going to have to. And this is where I do feel sorry for the current regime. It shows you how bad the previous regime was. That somebody sat Kolasinac down and said, we believe you're worth 125k a week. Yeah, somebody gave Bellerin over 100k. Somebody gave Xhaka. Unbelievable. Yeah. The Gazidis and Wenger can sit there and believe that these mediocre players are worth long-term contracts for that much money. Granit Xhaka's another example. Bellerin's another example. Lacazette's another. I think Lacazette's on 182k a week. He is never going to get that anywhere else. So they're going to sit there. We're going to have to pay people to leave. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
We're going to have to pay people to leave this club. That's unbelievable. That Lacazette would have probably said, 6-7 years ago, wow, you're going to make me play for Arsenal. Now, we're going to give you 182k a week to play for this club. No wonder we can't sell them. So we've got Eddie Nketiah, we've got Lacazette, we've got Bellerin, we've got Kolasinac.
I think Chambers is in his last 11 months.
Chambers as well is in his last one. I mean, this is unbelievable.
We're not learning again. Get 10 mil, he's homegrown and all that.
We were told this wasn't going to happen again. We were never going to let people have more too. And we've got, 4 players we just named there? I mean, Kolasinac, they're talking about terminating good. I mean, I've seen some poor left-backs in my time, I tell you, but I thought Andre Santos was better than this dude. I mean, that's
actually, imagine that.
Oh,
imagine, don't even remind me of that name. Daniel saying, well, I don't know how much you've seen of Odegaard, Dan, but this super chat here from Daniel saying, explain Odegaard to us. 12 goal contributions in 33 games. If he's such a good player at a low price, why is no one else interested? To be honest, I haven't watched much of Odegaard. When he was first linked with us last year, I think the hype really came off the back of those Champions League performances he's had. But again, I'm admitting I don't watch much of him. So have you seen much?
The only reason I've seen a lot of the guys because of that performance against Man City. I could not get that out of my head. I've never seen a performance so good against a class side as Husam Aouar. And I looked at it and I thought, I see Cesc Fabregas when I look at him. And the reason I say that is he's not just got vision, he actually takes shots at goals. I don't remember the last time we've had a midfielder that takes shots at goals, bro, that plays in that kind of attacking 8. Other reason I like him is because he has the drive. You remember when we had the drive of Fabregas? Yeah. When he had the ball, he'd drive into the box and he'd come late into the box as well. That's why I like Husam Aouar. The reason I worry and the reason I feel people aren't going for him is I think he's got some problems upstairs, mate. I think he's got some attitude issues as well, like the Guendouzi and Saliba's apparent attitude problems. I think that's what may be putting people off. But talent, 100% there, mate, from what I see.
Yeah, so 100%. Maybe his head's not fully in the game and he can get swayed by other. Daniel Bailey TV, big up Daniel. He said, evening, Daniel. Lads. This transfer window has been a disaster. Always reactive, never proactive.
So true.
Yeah, exactly.
So true. Where is this clear plan that Arteta and Edu are going on about? Because we've been linked with every player under the sun and every different mould of player, whether it's an attacking 8, a defensive midfield, a centre midfield, an anchor, a number 10, an attacking 8. We've seen all of these linked with us. I think it's clear our midfield's poor, but there's no plan there. There is no plan. He's had since February, Edu, to sort this out. And we're now, 2 weeks left and we need about 4 players still.
Imagine. Minimum.
It's unbelievable.
We've got a super chat here saying check Ornstein from Andrew. I will check Ornstein in a sec. And another one from Saeem saying there's mutiny at Arsenal. Ozu and Oba are not players who just stop putting in shifts. They love football. Laka has joined the mutiny now, so has Hector. The rest either hate the tactics or can't be asked. Structure has to change. I get it, but some of these players also have to take ownership. They're not only playing for the manager. They're playing for us as well. And they can't continue to let us down because they're not happy and they're not happy with what's going on. Sometimes, hard work is a must. Sometimes, you have to go against the grain. Sometimes you have to knuckle down and you have to go through tough times. I understand they might be frustrated, but no one's more frustrated than us. to start
100%.
playing a bit more for us and showing us that maybe, okay, we know with Chelsea, when Chelsea used to, you know, throw the dressing room, and
Yeah.
they would do it in between league titles and in between, you know, challenges and whatnot. So it's like you can trust them players because them players have done something for the club and they resonate with the fans. These Arsenal players haven't done nothing for me to say them kicking up a fuss with Emery or them kicking up a fuss now with Arteta, they would be right in that. Because it's us you play for. It's us you play for. And tactics is one thing, but not showing heart, desire, passion is another. Arteta, you shouldn't need Arteta for that. You should have that desire anyway.
And that's what, you know, whenever I speak to Kev Campbell, he always says the same thing. Once you cross that white line, it's all you. Yeah. And I totally get that. Now, I blame the manager a lot, if I'm honest with you, and I probably have been a bit too harsh on the lad, to be fair, because I'm not a fan of the manager. And obviously the tactics, he's got to be blamed for it. But sometimes it comes down to heart. Now, the reason I agree with that last comment is because the senior players have had enough, because the yes men are the youngsters, because they don't know no different, they've not had the experience yet, and they believe in the manager that's given them the chance. So they're happy to be playing for the shirt. They love the manager because he's giving them the time. They're always going to have time of the day for him. Kieran Tierney's my favourite player. Absolutely loves Mikel Arteta because of what he's seeing with the youngsters. Loves that. He's bought into it. I think sometimes you look at the Aubameyangs and some of the players that probably do need to leave, to be fair, Turkish. I think they're disagreeing because I think they know in the next couple of years these youngsters might be great, but they won't be here because they'll be in their late 30s and they'll be wanting to win now. They haven't got time to wait 3-4 years. And I think that's why they're saying, look, get these players in now. And the answer is we can't. We're going with youth. Because that's what it looks like to me. It looks like they're going with young players, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I've got Ornstein's tweet here up. Put your seatbelt on, Dan.
God, what are we doing? What's going on there?
Alright, so Arsenal on the verge of agreement with Sheffield United to sign Aaron Ramsdale. 24 million plus 6 million in add-ons, only likely to apply if when 23-year-old is established as the first choice. Sheffield United initially wanted 40 million. Proposed deal is 4 years plus an extra year option. He's not in the squad against West Brom this weekend, or...
Okay, so we've spent 50 million on a centre back that I don't feel was a priority. We've spent 30 million.
And this is where diverting it to Kroenke, you've got no hope because for fuck's sake, you've got some money there and you've gone and done this.
You've got money. You've had 80 million pounds that, let's be honest, could have been put towards an elite signing, and we've decided to go for a backup goalkeeper, a replacement for David Luiz, a replacement for Guendouzi, and a replacement for Kolasinac. We spent over like 100 million on that, and we've not really improved the first 11 with 100 million spent. So I hope they want to spend another 100 million in the next 2 weeks then, because that's the way I see it, bro. If they're going to spend 100 million, the fan base should be excited. Why? Because we haven't done our proper business yet. So we should be going, oh, do you know what? 2 weeks left, we're going to get that you know, that striker in, that kind of centre midfielder next to Partey, that creative midfielder. I don't think we're going to do that, bro. I think our business is coming to the end with the Ramsdale, and I think potentially we may put in a bid for Husamawa, and that'll be it. After the Odegaard comes in. Not exciting, bro, is it? It's not exciting.
You know, it's actually not. Imagine the club's on the verge of spending 65 mil on 2 players, 65, 70 mil on 2 players, and you were just sitting here after already signing 3 players this summer. Like, it's not really good enough, is it? And this is where it really frustrates me that yet again, and I'm not disagreeing, you know, Arteta and Edu are doing a lot of damage to themselves, and I'm not saying I disagree on the attention that should be on them. They're not making it easy, and for me trying to highlight the owner, but they are making it easier for Kroenke to hide.
They are. They're massively making it easy for him to hide because, you know, Kroenke can say, look, I'm giving them money, but look, you know, it's not my fault on what they spend it on. That's not my expertise. It's not my remit. My problem with that is, if it's not your remit and you're believing or actually care that it's going wrong, you'd be getting rid of them and getting somebody else in.
Yeah.
My problem is, if we do get rid of this regime, are we going to see an ambitious board, an ambitious manager, an ambitious team, or are we just going to see another yes man? That's why I think Kroenke is the biggest issue at this football club, 100%, mate. Because if we had a Roman Abramovich who's happy to sack Frank Lampard, who's a legend at the club, happy to sack Di Matteo, won the Champions League, happy to sack Abraham Grant, who was a penalty kick away from winning the Champions League, he sacked all those. And look at the success in the last 15 years because of him. That's
and the fans can trust him.
100% they can.
The fans can trust him. And they don't really question him much. Yes, with the Super League there was questions, But lo and behold, who was the first team out of the big six out? Chelsea.
There you go.
You know, because I feel like he cares about the reputation with fans. Did you see or did you read what Merson was saying earlier on Sky Sports?
No, go on.
So I've got it up here. He did go off on one a little bit, and I will, you know.
I like Merce because he says it how it is.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
No connection to the club. He says it as it is, and he's not seeking any sponsorship deals or any adverts. He said it's worrying at Arsenal. You're still thinking, where are they going? Edu has come in and the recruitment has been lazy, if I'm honest. It's been, we'll take Willian on a free, we'll take David Luiz for cheap. I remember years ago when football managers were judged on signings. Sometimes I think Arteta is left behind, and I'm not sure how much of a say he has got in all of this. Why would you let Willock go? I'm not saying he's the answer, but he's come through the club and he's going for 25 mil. That sort of money isn't going to change Arsenal. It's like Harry Kane or Jack Grealish sell, where you get 100 mil and can rebuild the team. But Arsenal are prepared to pay Willian big money. Where is the future in that? It's quick fixes. Surely Willock is a future player and for the present and can be involved in a plan. Johnny Evans is another good example. I was calling for Arsenal to sign him when he was at West Brom. A very good player at United at the wrong time. He would have been a success, but it felt like Arsenal didn't sign him because he played for West Brom. How can Arsenal be signing players from West Brom? My question is to Edu, what's the plan? I think we got spoiled with Arsenal 20 years ago, and he kind of goes into the history and whatnot. But essentially, he's putting a lot of this on Edu and Arteta, and he's saying, you know, where's the direction?
This is the thing. There is a plan, but what is it? We're all confused by it, and we keep coming back to this process, new regime, plan. I don't see any of it, mate. I don't trust it. I don't have faith in either Edu or Arteta, because the last few windows they've proved to me that they can't, if they do get the players in, improve them anyway. They're not executing it on the pitch. Thomas Partey, I was buzzing for that signing. I haven't seen him.
So was that Pepe.
Pepe.
I couldn't believe we signed Pepe, because I thought, you know, we're going. I had watched Pepe from about December to the end of the season. That season we signed him, and I thought to myself, that's you know, one of the next big things. You know, Pepe is going to be one of the next, and he's
likewise.
out of our remit. And then all of a sudden it became a reality. He comes, and I'm like, right. Like, okay, these lot said be excited. I'm not excited yet, but I am fucking happy with this signing. So I thought, let me see what happens. Partey is kind of another one. Partey, I know, adds something we miss. But if you're missing 8 things, Dan, and you add one of those things,
there you go.
The fucking thing is still a problem.
You've still got 7 areas.
Exactly.
So, and I think, you know, the other thing to say on this as well, just touching on the kind of recruitment, how many players do you believe Mikel Arteta has improved in terms of this club? This team, because I'm struggling. People will say Saka and Smith Rowe straight away. Has he improved them, or are they just showing him raw talent that is good enough for this side? Kieran Tierney likewise.
Because people say like it kind of falls into his lap in a sense, or them decisions fell into his lap.
It was forced, Yeah, because it's a question nobody can really answer me. People say Granit Xhaka. Now, he had a good season last season. Everyone said he had amazing Euros. He didn't really, did he, Turkish? He had one good game against France. You know, it wasn't the player of the tournament.
3-3.
Exactly, right.
What I say is Hungary drew 1-1 with France.
Thank you. There we go.
No one remembers the man of the match for Hungary in the middle, or the captain, and says that we need to buy him.
So, people need to stop losing their heads over that. He's not going to play like that for Arsenal because he's proved he can't in the last 5 years. So, how many of these players has Mikel Arteta improved? He hasn't improved Martinelli. He hasn't given Balogun the chance. He's given Eddie the chance ahead of him, and he's not improved Eddie. He's not improved Lacazette or Aubameyang, in my opinion. He's regressed them. I think Rob Holding, people go on about as like he's the next Tony Adams. He's not good enough as far as I'm concerned. Yep. He's a squad player at
Another
best.
one evident for a little while with Rob Holding, you know. And that famous Wenger quote that just because he didn't cost 50 million... No, it's not just because he didn't cost 50 million, because what we're seeing is not good enough.
He's had, I can name you some horrendous centre-halves for England. Smalling, Phil Jones, can keep going on. He's never got near them.
He's never even made it.
You know, Chambers as well. I like Chambers as a backup right back if we're going to keep him there, but he's not really the answer in my opinion. I don't think either of them have ever hit the ceiling that everyone thought they were going to when we got them, because, you know, they come... I've got nothing against buying players, by the way, from Bolton, Southampton, Brighton. I've got nothing wrong with that, because George Graham done it years ago, and Liverpool have done it recently as well, where they've gone to Hull and got Robertson, and they've gone to, you know, Newcastle for Wijnaldum, Stoke for Shaqiri, those type of things. I've got nothing wrong with that, but I don't see that they were ever going to be Tony Adams and Martin Keown, mate. I just didn't see it. Do you know what I mean? And people were in denial and said, no, they'll get good. They're not young. Are they, 27 now? 26, 27? They're not young kids anymore. You know, they have never made it. So I don't think Arteta has improved any of these players, mate. And that's a worry for me, a huge worry.
It is a worry because at the end of the day, that's the bare minimum we can expect, and that's why it's frustrating that a lot of the attention's back on the manager. I said the same when Emery was coming to an end. There's only so much you can divert attention away from the man that's answering for the mess every week. You know, we can talk about Kroenke all week now. You can have the protest on Sunday, but if we bend over against Chelsea and take it again, it hasn't been the last few times, but we've taken it from Chelsea in the past.
Yeah, we have,
Who speaks? Arteta. Who talks shit? Arteta. Whose quotes will be rinsed across the week next week? Arteta. So slowly but surely, the target, it makes himself. In the last 2 weeks, Dan, we might as well wrap it up in the last 10 minutes. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you haven't already, people. On 800 likes, we should be on 1,000. There's over 7,000 watching. Big up you guys. Over 7,000 watching, only 800 likes. You should get it up to 2,000. If you want to see me and Dan back again next week on News Daily, get it up to 2,000 likes, people. And I've also pinned the message. My channel and Dan and Lee's channel is in the pinned message. So if you haven't already, make sure you go over there and subscribe to both channels. A lot of good content coming this season. I like what you and Lee have been doing over there as well. Something different. So
appreciate it.
On 1,000 already. I did say 2,000 people for me and Dan to return next week. So get the likes going. We've got 10 minutes left. Dan, last 2 weeks of the window. What is it? The 18th now. So we've got about 13 days left. The bare minimum in terms of incoming and the bare minimum in terms of outgoings that you would accept in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, let's go with outgoings.
Yeah.
Kolasinac out. Bellerin out as musts.
Yeah.
I think personally we have to do something with Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah out. And then in terms of incomings, I would accept Husam Aouar and a centre forward. So if I don't care if it's who it is really. If it's Calvert-Lewin, if it's Martinez, if it's Isak, if it's Vlahovic, somebody who's going to give us something different. That is not Aubameyang or Lacazette.
Something fresh.
And I'd accept it. Something new. Something new. Because the amount of times I'm seeing Tierney cross the ball and no one's in there, it's frustrating me. So I need a DCL in there, or Vlahovic, or Isak, or somebody who's going to get on the end of that. So show me that you have the ambition to get this team moving forward, not just building the foundations at the back all the time. I'd love a right back as well, but I don't think it's going to happen, bro.
So is that about 3 outs and 3 ins, or 2?
Roughly, maybe 4 outs and 2 ins.
Yeah. Which is quite fair. I think that's quite fair. I think 2 ins in the next 2 weeks, when you know where we need obviously the positions, get it done. Andrew saying, Turkish burner here. With the Kroenke's appointment of Edu and Arteta, it's the blind leading the blind into a ditch. That's the process. Very true. And Vic says, you lot cannot blame Kroenke now after he has spent 140 million this season. Edu and Arteta are responsible for Arsenal's downfall. You see, Arsenal's downfall started a long time ago. You know, when Arsenal's downfall started even before Arteta was a player at the club, let alone a manager at the club. So, you know, you have to pick words very carefully here. Yes, Arteta and Edu are doing heaps of nonsense this summer, and yes, they haven't improved the team, having spent over 100 mil, and yes, that's on them, definitely. But the downfall of the club and the position we are in, where we lost that to Buendia to Villa. Bernardo Silva didn't seem too keen on the idea of signing for us. We can't sell players, so we give them new contracts and pay rise. The reason we are where we are is overall because of the Kroenkes, but I understand, you know, Arteta is the face of it all right now. Another one is saying White 52 million, Lokonga 15.75, Tavares 7.2, Odegaard 34, Ramsdale 30, almost 140 million, and no change in the first team bar Ben White.
Facts. It's facts. You know,
it is facts.
You know, the previous comment as well, Kroenke spent money. Has Kroenke spent money?
That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
Do you know what I mean? I disagree that he's spent his own money. I think that we've allowed money to be spent, and we've got rid of Guendouzi, we've got Lokonga. There's not much difference between the money spent there. Do you know what I mean? So is it, you know, look at the net spend. Have we spent 150 million? We ain't. Do you know what I mean? So it was 75 mil, and then we sold Willock, so it went to 50 mil, and then we bought Odegaard. It goes to 84 mil, and then you add the 24 mil on Ramsdale. It's 108 mil roughly net spend. 108 mil. So then you take away the Ozil wages, the Mustafi wages, the Kolasinac wages each time, because that's still coming back from last season.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's like, wow, we spent hundreds of millions.
At the end of the year or at the beginning of the year, that graph comes out where it shows owner investment. That's when we're going to find out.
That's the one we
want to see. Is it actually him that's done something this time? Or, you know, is it again the club's own money doing the business? Last super chat here from Major saying, what's your 11 against Chelsea?
I think the 11 is going to be very similar, unfortunately, because of the situation with Lacazette and Aubameyang. I think personally, Leno in goal. I don't think we're going to change with 3 at the back or anything silly like that. So I think we're going to see the same back 4. I think it will be Callum Chambers coming in on the right hand side with White and Pablo Mari. I think Tierney at left back. I think he'll keep Lokonga and Xhaka because of Partey being out. I expect to see Smith Rowe play. I expect to see Saka start this time on the right hand side. And I think he may go Pepe on the left and then Martinelli up top, because Odegaard, I think, will probably come on because he's our new signing. If he's fit enough and ready, that is. What about you?
I pretty much agree with that. No news on Partey yet, right?
No, he's a couple of weeks away,
so
at least.
We're getting Partey, Gabriel after international break.
Yeah, it looks that way, yeah.
So yeah, I'd agree with you there.
Yeah.
I don't really see much else you can do. You start at Saka, right?
Yeah, I'll go Saka. But I'd actually go Saka on the right, Pepe left, and then go with Martinelli up top. But, I said about Pepe going up top, but I think maybe Martinelli might get that chance. They could switch it around. We've got that situation now where we can have a few of them switching it around, but that's what I expect to see roughly.
And a few people calling for Holding over Mari. What's your opinion of that?
The thing is with that is I think that although I don't think Holding's quick, but I think he's quicker than Pablo Mari. I mean, Pablo Mari's turning is not great, is it? It's like
that's his biggest downfall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he's strong, he's good, like aerial ability in my opinion, and I think that positionally is his strength.
Yeah.
I don't think Holding's position is good enough at all, mate. And I think that we're seeing. I think that the reason I would like a right back is because I think it improves the right centre back situation, because we still saw with Ben White there's issues there as well.
Very true, yeah.
So I'd like
an outlet. A good right back is an outlet for the right centre back.
I want another Kieran Tierney over the right hand side. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
100%.
Like a Lamptey or an Aarons or somebody like that.
Yeah, they set the example on the left hand side, so it's only right we as Arsenal fans demand the same for the other side.
Replicate it, exactly.
Because we can see, not only defensively are we a lot more assured with Tierney there, but offensively he's a key asset. Probably one of our only assets in the Brentford game was Tierney overlapping and getting crosses in that first 30-40 minutes, but it still didn't work out in the end. No. And that's about it, people. Coming up to 7 p.m, make sure you guys hit the like button. We're on 1.4k likes. Get it up to 2,000 before the video ends. Anything else planned this week for you and Lee Judges on your channel?
We'll be doing stuff for the weekend for around the game. Tomorrow night, actually, we're going to be doing a preview with Kev Campbell. Kev Campbell's going to come on. I'm actually away, but Lee and him will be chatting. Yeah. Potentially getting Rory Jennings on the channel as well to talk Chelsea. And then at the weekend, it'll be me and Lee going to the game on Sunday and doing some reaction after it. So yeah,
I get the protest.
Looking forward to it. I'll be there, man.
I'll see you there, my guy. Come on.
Good to see you,
I had to ask just so they know there. Like I said, I pinned Lee and Dan's channel in the comment section, in the live chat section. So go subscribe there. My channel's there as well if you want to have a gander. This has been another News Daily. Me and Dan, I'm sure we'll be back again at some point next week to cover, maybe together, maybe individually with other people. We'll be back. News Daily's back every day as usual anyway. 6 p.m. Get to know. And yeah, put your notifications on. Hit the like button. Love and peace, people. We're out.